Hello, welcome back to Dear Source, your ascendancy hotline, where you get your daily dose of spiritual guidance, where we dive deep into real life questions and struggles using ancient wisdom and universal principles to find clarity, peace, and alignment. Whether you're navigating relationships, inner conflict, or seeking purpose, this is a space where we honor your journey with compassion, non-judgment, and insights. Drawing from the universal laws, A Course in Miracles, the Law of One, and the Hermetic principles, we are here to find answers, connect to your truth, and elevate your path to healing. Now let's explore today's letter and connect with the wisdom of Source. And today's letter comes from a curious seeker. And it reads, Dear Source, I've recently become very curious about shamanic practices and would love to learn more about them. I've heard that they can offer powerful healing and spiritual insights, but I'm not quite sure where to start or how to incorporate them into my own spiritual journey. I'm particularly interested in understanding the core principles behind shamanism, how it connects us to the natural world, the spiritual realm, and our inner wisdom. I want to know how these ancient practices can help guide me in everyday life and deepen my spiritual connection. Could you share some insights on shamanic practices and how they can support personal and spiritual growth? I'm excited to explore this path further, but I feel like I need some guidance on where to begin. Sincerely, Curious Seeker. So thank you, A Curious Seeker, for your letter. It's such an honor. So I invited my shamanic teacher and practitioner, Lori Lund, who has been a practicing shaman now for 11 years. I thought she would be an absolute perfect guest to answer your questions, to provide you guidance. I just recently graduated my shamanic practitioner training, but I think Lori has so much valuable insights to offer just based on her time in the space. So welcome, Lori. I appreciate you joining me today.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. This is very exciting for me to be able to be invited to talk about this. So thank you.
You are so welcome. You are a beautiful soul, a powerful spirit. And yeah, how Lori and I met was, 5 years ago, 4.5, almost 5 years ago, we met. She came to clear my house after I had gotten a divorce to release cords. And I was open and I had started my spiritual path, but that really catapulted my journey, I think, into really stepping into how interconnected the universe is and how it all works together. And so that's how she and I met, as she came and worked her magic, and I'll let her share all the details on all the stuff she does. But that's how she and I came to be connected, which I would offer is by perfect design. So I think I was always drawn into stepping into this path. And as part of the clearing, then I started to do individual work. I think what you're speaking to, A Curious Seeker, about of like, how do you start to incorporate this into your own personal growth? And so Lori and I started to work together individually to really tap me into my gifts and how to use shamanic tools such as journey to grow and help myself.
Yes, that was a fabulous journey.
It was. It has been.
That was very, very fun. So as far as my shamanic path, so as Erin said, my shamanic path started probably in 2013. 2013-14 was the beginning. And I, similar to many people, mine came as a bridge or a road to be able to take me from a kind of a way of doing my life into something different. And I was in a seeking place where I really was at the end of this, the way that I was doing life just didn't feel good anymore. And so, like with many, there is what is called an initiation or a step in to a new way of being. And that's literally the way shamanism oftentimes comes to people, is through an initiatory path. And so for me, it was very much about, for me, that was also included a physical illness. Sometimes it can be a physical illness, or it can be even a near-death experience, because there's something about the deathing experience that opens us up to something new. And so it doesn't have to be a near-death or even an illness, but it can be something ending, like a job ending, or your career changes, or your family dynamic changes, similar to what you were talking about, Erin, with your divorce and, moving and leaving everything that you had known. And so in some ways, that is the opening or the catalyst to be able to open up to these kind of the truths that are here, or what our soul is seeking for us, in a way to really bring us closer to like what we're here to do, or what's the opportunity for us here? What is our soul asking for us to step into, and how to look at life differently? And so I would say that started my process. And then I stepped into a shamanic journeying workshop, where I learned shamanic journeying. And that was my beginning step into, shamanic healing, as well as opening up to what my spirit and what my guides were asking me to see. Mm-hmm. And so that's definitely what I would say, is that there is usually, as we are stepping into this, or there may be a story, or there might be an experience that you had in nature, or something that brought you into this interconnected web that we all live in, and that might be what is, piquing your interest. And so if that is follow that, that is your soul literally calling to you from a distance and asking you to look deeper. And that's the beginning. And it's a beautiful thing to trust that your soul has your back, that your guidance team is actually nudging you and tapping you and getting you ever so close to seeing things differently, and being open to the awareness that is available on this path.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the beauty of, you start to realize how interconnected we are. And that's really the premise, or the baseline. I mean, shamanism, I think you told me this, is like the most ancient,
Yes.
religion. It's not even really a religion, but that practice of understanding our oneness with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And the word, it's interesting, because I think sometimes we get a little caught up with the word shaman, or even shamanism, but actually shaman is an old ancient word. It's a Siberian word, actually, and it's a word that represents, that means like medicine man or medicine woman. And yet shamanism, it is the earliest spiritual practice. So it's actually a spiritual practice. It's not a religion. And when I first came into shamanism, I found that it was one of those things that fit along with whatever my religious belief was. And so it's not like you have to identify or let go of your, like, what you believe in your religious practice. It actually goes hand in hand with your practice. And that was very comforting for me to know that I don't have to give anything up in order to start practicing or stepping into shamanism. Shamanism is just this beautiful like spiritual gift that has been known in, like Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, Greenland, North and South America. Like shamanism itself and shaman has been known in every culture here. And so a lot of times I think people get a little hung up on, can I even can I look into shamanism? Like, is that okay for me to do that? Or am I going to break rules? Or is there going to be, things that, I'm confronted with around the culture. And yet every single one of us, and this is what I tell people, is that every single one of us has a tribal nature. It is in our genetics and our DNA. And, you know, even if you don't identify with the idea of past lifetimes, you in your own line have direct line through your genetics to a tribal way of being that actually lives in you. And so these ways of connecting to everything that is, yes, like tribal people and people who still live in tribal environments know this. And it is ancient wisdom that they know. And so there is this call, I believe, especially now, to tap into what is in there. Like, and so there will be variations in that depending on where your genetics come from. And so you may find that you like connect more to like a Celtic shamanism or more, Nordic shamanism or something. But in essence, what it is it's connecting you to your roots and your deep knowing within your own genetics that's available to you.
Because you also maybe talk a little bit about this, like your ancestors and your guides, because that's also what comes along with kind of that concept of tribe, is you have a whole team.
Yes.
You're then working in conjunction with, like, that. Yes, we see this physical two beings here on this computer screen, but there's so much more that's going on with that.
Yeah. And really that's what shamanism does, is it kind of connects you. It connects you to the interconnectedness, but it also gives you access to those spirit beings or those, what I would call your team, that comes in to direct you and guide you and to direct and guide your path here. And so like when you step in, you're literally stepping into this web of support that includes your ancestors. It includes, many times our guides can be our ancestors. They're like our grandmothers or our, like many times that's who we're actually connecting to. And there's a wide variety of this. And I think the reason that I was so shamanism really fit for me was because I felt this in a deeper way. And I'm interested in support. I'm interested in being able to step forward and being able to step into a community of support that is not seen.
Yes.
Is a beautiful gift through nature spirits and benevolent spirits that are guiding us as we are here on this journey. And so it is opening up to who's here for me, what spirit ally that oftentimes will come in through an animal spirit or a nature type of an imagery that very much is the shamanic way of connecting. Shamanism definitely connects to the animal spirits in ancient times and probably in some tribal places where the ancient things are practiced. The whole thing was to get into a trance state, and trance state was done through the imagery of dressing up in the furs and the feathers and all of the things in the nature world and the nature, the animals that actually provided that for them. And so they would, that's how they shift their consciousness into a trance-like state to be able to actually divine or kind of go into the other realms that are available. And so, now our practice of shamanism has evolved. What I would say I practice now and what I teach now is core shamanism, which was brought in and kind of revolutionized by Michael Harner. He wrote a book called The Way of the Shaman, and he opened up a shamanic, kind of a shamanic way of like a practice or like a school in the 70s. And he started teaching people how to actually connect in trance state through drumming. So he's the one that actually introduced that, to be able to change your brain waves with drumming. and not have to use medicines, or not have to actually change your consciousness through the use of medicines. So there is a variety of ways to go into a trance state and to receive answers.
The only way I've ever done it is the way you've obviously taught me, is through drumming. And I will say it's quite a magical and transcending experience.
Yes.
And it's a good way to introduce it. And I know you and I previously had these conversation of like, you know, what's the difference between a medicine-induced journey versus a drummed journey. And what I like about the drummed is I get to retain all my faculties and I still get to access that oneness with the universe. And I think the beauty, you know, the other thing I love about shamanism is it's a reflection. It just reflects how our universe is wired. So if I think of our mycelium network of what goes on in the earth, or, you know, even an aspen grove of like how it grows and sprouts up and they're all interconnected. Like, I think shamanism connects us with how the universe actually naturally works.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's, I mean, that's the whole, that's very much if you think about like what the tribal, you know, the tribes actually, what we knew, you know, eons ago, is we knew that there was a rhythm to nature, and that working with the rhythms of nature are actually what we're designed to do, and the way that the universe works together. The universe is kind. And so it does work together. And it, like, one of the examples is like, if you're feeling like, if you think about like going against a river, like if you're walking and trudging up a river, right? How much energy are you putting out there to try to get through your life when you are going contrast to what nature is guiding you? And so what shamanism oftentimes does is brings you back to the nature's rhythms. And we work in nature's cycle. We study the cycles of nature. We study the elements of nature because our bodies are an expression of the elements of nature. And so what is without us is within us. Like everything that's in the earth and the sky is inside of us. And so it really is meant to connect us back into inside of us, to this place of like honoring the natural rhythms. We have the circadian rhythms in our body that actually our body utilizes those energies that are connected to nature. And actually now a lot of holistic like practitioners that are, you know, doctors, or, you know, what they tell you to do if your body's out of whack is they tell you to actually start going back to nature. Get up in the morning, get first morning's eyesight in your eye, and that will actually trigger your systems in your body to start working properly. So there's something about this that the ancients know, and that's really what it's about, is getting back to those things that they just knew. That was what they knew. They honored the earth for its wisdom, and they honored the spirits for their wisdom that help us to be able to do our life now. That is in so much contrast. There's so much contrast that when we can bring back these natural rhythms, we actually we open ourselves back up to the way that it's supposed to work, truthfully.
Yeah. It's like returning ourselves to the natural order, which you described. A lot of what we do is the walking up the river, and it's like we to point ourselves downstream and work in unison with the universe. Because to your point, we live in a friendly, benevolent, amazing, friendly universe, and like seeing that and recognizing that and honoring that is part of, I think, this journey.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's an available journey. I think it's an available thing for people to kind of get out of the hustle and bustle and the place where we're driven to succeed, instead, like coming back to this place of pulling it back into, am I willing to guide myself? Am I willing to know what I know? Am I willing to actually seek answers and, receive information that's actually going to take me closer to what I actually came here to do.
Yes.
Instead of just going along with society, because obviously we know how well that's worked.
It's not going so well.
Right? Not going so well. Like, yeah. So there's a lot of just really beautiful, like when we realize that we're a part of this nature, that we can actually be in it and with it and support it, honor it, then it's kind of like everything starts to work differently.
Yes.
And we start to actually attract or bring in, or, the universal principles will start to become real and possible for us, because we're no longer in this place of shutting it all out, right? We're actually working with it instead of against it.
Yep. That's so well said. I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
What, so for somebody that is like curious, like, how do you, I think, start to step into like some shamanic practices? What
Mhm.
does that look like?
Yeah. So I would say that if something is like, even this conversation is a really good one to, kind of hear and be like, is there something, like, I would say just kind of getting out of your brain a little bit and kind of dropping into your heart a little bit, and just kind of just dropping into this place of closing your eyes and just checking in with yourself and just seeing, like, is this talking to me? Is there a part of me that this is actually piquing something, or awakening something inside of me? And it's a very subtle, it's a subtle calling, where your soul starts to kind of call you forward in it. And they're definitely, like, being in nature is one of the most beautiful ways that you can open up to your own nature and your own, like, soul calling, because in nature it is beautifully designed to actually bring us into our divine spark, or into that divinity that we all have, because nature is the most, accepting, loving witnesser of your soul. And so when you are in nature is a beautiful time to inquire about some of these things. Just get out of your house, get out of your, like, out of your place of business, go find a tree, or go find somewhere to sit, or go watch the birds, or, like drop into this place of receiving, because, it's always there. It's just a matter of, are we willing to drop our barriers and actually receive it? And when we can, then that's kind of the place that you'll know, like, is this talking to me? And you can start to seek answers by asking beautiful questions in nature, where you're just like, okay, universe, what does my soul want to know? Or, asking a question of, like, what's more for me? And if the path is speaking to you, if like I always say, like, if you're drawn to the natural world, if you feel, the birds or the plants or the flowers or the animals, if you are very close to them, if you kind of are empathic in a way where you can feel, that there's messages there, if they keep showing up for you, like if a bird's just constantly showing up for you, or if there's, a particular animal that shows up for you. Even your own pets and animals can be kind of your bridge to the spirit realm, because they're much more connected to the spirit realm than we are. And so if there's, something that's drawing you, I would say trust that knowing. And then the next thing that you may want to do is put yourself, in contact with somebody who teaches shamanism, or, I teach shamanism, obviously, but also, like, spending some time doing a kind of like a shamanic journey, or, going into, you can do shamanic journeying without a teacher. I love to teach shamanic journeying, because I think that sometimes we have our own, our ego comes in a lot, and sometimes it takes us out of the experience, or we will make up stories like, oh, that was fake, that wasn't real, you didn't see any of that, you didn't hear any of that, right? Because we have a really difficult time sometimes navigating our ego and navigating our inner critic, especially when it comes to knowing our truth. There's a lot of stuff that comes up for people around knowing their truth and being available, that it's actually available for them to know. There's a lot of worthiness that comes in, or a lot of religious programming that will come in sometimes around that. And so my recommendation is find a teacher in human form that can help to guide you and help you to know that you're not crazy, for one, that what you're hearing and sensing is actually a calling, a soul calling that is speaking to the innermost part of you that nobody knows about. And that's the reason I stepped into teaching. I stepped into teaching in 2017. And I stepped into it because I just felt so many people wanting to, I just felt them. I just felt people like losing their way because they weren't, they couldn't trust what they were experiencing as true. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I was like, okay, I can help you with that. Like, let me help you with that. Because there is a lot that can come up for us. Even our own healing, or our kind of our own spiritual illness can sometimes be confronting to us as we are going, as we are stepping into this path. And so some of that can sometimes come in and take us out and be like, oh no, I can't do that. Right.
Yeah, I will say first, like you taught me journeying. That was one of the first things you taught me. And it became a great skill that I had and used for many years before I decided to step into fully going, okay, I know I'm called to activate my gifts. I think you've kind of said this, but I mean, we all have this within us. This isn't uniquely special to Lori or I. Like, we all have access to this. And I remember one of the things you told me when I was learning journeying, it was like, just let everything like see it and just let it pass out. And it was something that even helped me with other meditation practices. So I wasn't getting caught on the egoic, like right, wrong, dual, all that stuff, hamster wheel, and just allowing, like, what am I seeing? What does that mean? And know that everything is talking to us. Like, our universe is so magnificent that it's supporting us with all these beautiful messages, whether it's the clouds in the sky, the tree, the squirrels that are playing on the fence outside your house, like whatever it is, those are all messages from the universe that are just reinforced.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely can be part of that. I think that there's times in our life, especially when we are seeking something, when we are looking for a way through an experience. Like, I mean, honestly, that's where spiritualism, was created out of. It was created out of this idea that I'm not alone here, and my life has meaning, and I want to know what that meaning is. I want to get something deeper from this experience. There's more here than just this. You can't tell me that this is just all there is. And so in a way, it is, like an experience that anybody can do is, and I do this often with my students, is I invite them to go on a little nature walk. And I invite them to go and set an intention of something that they want some clarity around, and then set the intention, go outside, go for a little walk, see what piques their interest, or what they see, what is showing up for them, because we're always being guided if we're willing to be. And so once you kind of, it's like, oh, I'm noticing all of those dead branches on that tree right there. I'm, notice what the tree is, notice the type of tree it is, notice the direction it's in, right? And just keep a note of it, and then go back and do a little research. Google's your friend, or, find a book or something, and look at the symbolism of what that means, and start to look at it in a different way. Like, what is it about those branches that I'm noticing? Is it because they're like, is it because they're falling or dying, or like, what is that? Like, how do I feel about that? Or what do I feel about like the offshoots of brand new ones that are growing? Like, how does that feel inside of me? And in many, many ways, what we're seeing outside of us is actually a representation of something that we're going through inside of us. And it relates and correlates to our own life. And so in many ways, that's how I started my journey years and years ago. Was, wow, what do I notice outside of myself? What is that? And then I started to notice how much that, that was actually answering something inside of myself. It was actually showing me almost like a mirror of me. Right. And so it was like, in many ways, nature will be that for you. And when we step into this relationship, of, asking questions and seeking guidance, and inviting nature in as a way for us to receive our answers, it's always right there for us if we're willing.
It
And so
is.
that's one way that you can kind of engage. Or if there's a bird that shows up for you and you feel something with that bird, when you see it, what is it, how does it make you feel inside when you see that bird? Like, look up the bird, look up the symbolism of the bird. In many ways, that's kind of our beginning stage of stepping into this, everything has meaning. In shamanism, everything has meaning. Everything is significant, because for wherever you are right now, you are witnessed. You are witnessed, and you will always be witnessed wherever you are, no matter what that looks like.
Yes.
So that's the part that I love the most, is knowing that I'm never alone in this. And there's always support when I look out. There's always
No, I think and you brought this up a lot, like what actually gets you to step into this is oftentimes like there's that transitional phase where you're looking to there's a knowingness that you're more connected, but it's how am I more connected, and how supported am I in this universe, that's vast and amazing. And I think that's what shamanism really gave me, is like, I hope they'll have the whole universe to look to for support, and it's not just me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then there becomes like, for me, I have stages of teaching that helps people be able to go, like they start out kind of with the basics. And then there's a way of kind of going into the next level, which is more about understanding their own set of symbols that show up for them, and what that means, and what does it mean when I see them, and being able to kind of divinate the information that's around you for your own growth, and for what you're looking to create, or what's up for you, whether that's healing yourself, or starting your own business, or whatever it is. That's the valid point, is it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be any and all of those things that bring you to this, this seeking place of like wanting to receive information, wanting to feel supported through what you're bringing into the world. So it's actually, it's very open, and it's a very beautiful thing when you start to get those messages.
I know.
Isn't it, Erin? It's such a beautiful thing when you're getting them.
Talking to you, and it's like, and it takes a lot of the stress that I think we put on ourselves as humans to try to figure it all out ourselves. When it's like the universe is surrounding us, trying to give us some of the guidance and answers, if we're willing to tap in and listen and receive that, and to take it in. Like, everything has meaning. It's not just,
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is that, like, I would say that kind of that spiritual need and desire is to be seen by divine. Like we have an intrinsic, need to be valued, for our life to matter. And so this really touches a fundamental part of what we need, especially if we're going through some things that are, that are difficult. If we're trying to recreate our life, it's like the very best way to do that is when we can be in that place of receiving and receiving, our own divinity within. It's like, which just mirrors the divinity without. It's, it's the spirit in everything. Yes. And that spirit in everything is willing to, to witness the gift that you are, yes, here on the planet, and is willing to keep feeding that, right? And as we choose more and more, we can definitely be affirmed. And our guides are very, very actively willing, as we are willing to engage. And so I would say for anybody, seeking, like, finding the teacher, finding, a way to shamanic journey, where that feels good to do that. There's a lot of drumming tracks. There's a lot of shamanic, journeying drumming tracks that you can find. But even walking meditation, if shamanic, drumming isn't working, but even walking meditation, doing a nature walk and checking in, being in your body, and just really opening up, like, what's available here for me, what's available for me, that may, meditation also works. And the difference between shamanic drumming and meditation is just that drumming is what's happening, drumming or rattling, and that's a steady pace, and that helps to kind of shift your brain waves. But if somebody doesn't necessarily resonate with that, there's plenty of walking meditations or, things that they can do to kind of get their mind to calm down, repetitive movement. For me, shamanic drumming made a lot of sense because I am like an ADD girl.
Yep.
So I am not, I like, put me on, if you're going to put me down with a meditative, some music, I'll probably fall asleep. Like that never really, like, I could go to my happy place. Like, back in the, I would say back in the, in the 80s, I was a big fan. We actually did mindfulness in college in the 80s. And we learned how to go to our happy place in meditation. So I actually started meditating in the 80s.
Okay.
And so, but like, the thing that I love that's different about the journeying is it's an active meditation. Yes. And so your mind is actually going somewhere. And I really needed my mind to go somewhere because I was like, I'm just going to chill out and fall asleep. And then I'll just wake up and then nothing will have happened.
Well, and it's hard to receive clarity. There's something beautiful in being very still, and just that empty, quiet mind, moment. But if you're really in a moment of like seeking or getting clarity, or, that's where I find the journeying so valuable, is like, I can actually, it's like my inner way of talking directly with the universe to get the answers.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what I think appealed to me as well, is just that it's very much more an active, kind of moving meditation. My mind is active through that. Whereas I also do a lot of just, like, stillness, like you're talking about, and just dropping into stillness and kind of emptying my mind. I definitely do that. That's a practice that I also do. So it's not like one is better than the other. I just find that for me, the drumming felt very, it spoke to something inside of me. Yep. That I couldn't describe. And many people have experienced the drum beat. The drum beat is very much the reflection of the, kind of the heartbeat of Mama Earth. Yeah. And it's like that drum beat is really resonant within our own system. And so for that reason, like, there's a lot of healing that happens through that drum beat, that shamans use. I use the drum a lot to do things that I can't do in my sessions. My drum actually can do it, but, and it's done through the drumming. And so but that drum beat in and of itself is it's so repetitive that it kind of helps to shift your brain waves into the theta state. And it's that theta state that is that learning state where you actually can rewire your brain in the theta.
Okay.
And so that's why it's so like impactful to be able to do a shamanic journey, because what you're seeing, sensing, feeling in that journey feels very real to you. And it actually starts to rewire some of these places where, maybe we have been in some overwhelm. It actually helps to kind of rewire that, where we feel that safety, that we can go into this place of, I'm being supported by the universe here.
Yes.
Right. I'm being guided to some knowing, my gut, and it is a way for you to directly communicate with your guide team. And
Yes.
they, the way they show you, like in my shamanic journey courses, I help explain how spirit speaks to you through your journey experience and what that looks like, so that oh, if I'm seeing this, then what does that mean for me? Like I'm sensing this, or I'm getting this particular color, or I'm feeling something. And it very much will start to tap into your way that you receive intuition. Like your intuitive way will start to come out in your journey. Some people will be more visual, where they will see things. Some people will feel things more, or they'll be very tapped into the audible field, and clairaudience will come through. And so that's in a lot of ways, that's kind of the next level, is being able to kind of develop those ways that your intuition connects to guidance.
Okay.
And that's a way to develop your intuition even more. And so that, I would say, that's like the next step of, moving from this place of like, wow, I can get answers, and how you receive those answers is really about you. It's about, what are your gifts here? How do you receive spirit information and guidance?
No, I love that.
Working with that. So
yes. So I know I've done other work, and this is a little bit more advanced. And I think you were sharing with me about what kind of levels shamanism works on, like the essence of who we are. So maybe talk a little bit more about that, because I found that very intriguing.
So as far as again, like anybody can kind of step into a shamanic inquiry. And oftentimes we're drawn into that by our guides, or a guide will show up and, draw us into this inquiry. And then from that point, like I would say, finding a way to connect to your guide team through shamanic journeying would be the next step.
Okay.
And then you really utilizing the journey experience, practicing it. Lot of times the path is inward first before it's outward. And so we will do a lot of work around our own spiritual illness, like healing our own connection to divine, or, like connecting to what's important in our life and how to shift those things. And so it very much is about kind of like healing yourself. Like expanding your own reach, or being able to kind of like step into your intuition, or, heal some of these, wounds that you have from your own life. Right. And so I would say stepping into that relationship of healing for yourself is the next step. And then once you've done that for a while, I mean, honestly, shamanism, if you're on the shamanic path, that path is never ending, right? So like it's not like you're done and done,
like there is no end point.
There is no end.
And it's a beautiful, I think what it's given to me is it's a beautiful unveiling, or it's kind of like the blossoming of a flower, where it's like you just continuously peak more and more and more open.
Yes. And I would say that. Yeah. You become kind of more open. You become more connected to kind of your soul's expression, or your, like your intuitive wisdom, or you get closer to what you actually want to create in your life. Your purpose kind of comes through a little bit more. And then sometimes that purpose can be about stepping into service of others. And that's kind of where the practitioner course comes in, as being, like learning soul, like how to do soul retrieval, learning how to do shamanic extraction. These are all like session work.
Yes.
With somebody, and learning how to do that is definitely, for some, that's where they end up. But for many, that's not where they end up. They're actually just, they don't have a desire for that, or that's not in their blueprint to do that. And yet they're still very connected to their shamanic path. And, seeking answers and being connected to nature, and, honoring Mother Earth, honoring the spirits around them that are, that are witnessing them, doing ceremony, or, doing ritual. Like anybody can do those things. Anyone can step into doing a shamanic ritual. For me, it's like I start my day in ritual. And, and that's what opens me up for my day, where I'm stepping into a connectedness and being guided by my own inner wisdom, my higher self, and my guides as I'm stepping into doing my life. Oftentimes when I travel a lot right now, and I will go and connect to the land. Everywhere that I go, I will connect to the land. I'll connect to the land spirits and the nature spirits that are on the land. There's a lot of times where the land is, calling for some healing, or it wants some healing. And so sometimes I will do that. So it's really like being in the practice of kind of your own shamanic practice is really ebbs and flows the way that you're meant to do it, and the way that your guides are guiding you there, and your higher self. And, so that, for that reason, there's, it's very open and vast. And it, you may decide that you want to, kind of address, some of the shamanic healing is very much around, there's 3 causes of illness according to the shaman, and that is, loss of personal power is the first one. So, chronic illness, depression, or if you're finding yourself in misfortune over and over, then there can be a loss of personal power. And so even being able to journey to connect to your own personal power, or asking somebody to do some soul retrieval for you, asking a shaman to do soul retrieval for you that helps bring your personal power back, right?
Yes.
Either there's also like loss of soul or essence, like the essence of you is gone through a trauma, or through even a situation where maybe it's a divorce, or maybe it's a natural disaster, where part of you just feels like you lost a part of yourself, right? And so that's another way to kind of like connect into that healing. And this is healing that you and your guides, your guides can offer this healing. That's the thing that's so beautiful about it. You don't absolutely have to have a practitioner. I like going to somebody, because for me, that feels very supportive, to have somebody holding space for me while I am receiving, this kind of healing. But I've done it both ways.
Well, and I think the other thing I would offer in that space too is like there's a lot of energies at play on this earth, and I think knowing how to engage and work with them is so important, because not everything that we interact with is positive. I don't know what words I want to use, but I think the one thing I've learned, in my trajectory of this, is how do I protect myself and because there are things that can come in that would not be for the highest and greatest good of all. And that doesn't mean I have judgment around it. It's just an awareness of that does exist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do live in a very intense place, and there is a lot of energies that are always here and available to us. And what I would say, like that, I mean, that's kind of the third level of illness, is spiritual blockage. And so, to your point, like, there's a lot that when clients come to me, I can feel and sense where they're blocked, or what's been blocked, or why they've been blocked. And then it's kind of a conversation to release the blockage, but also understand that like we get to have support to bring ourselves back online. And part of that support is our own self.
Yes.
Part of that is like, am I willing to put away my inner critic and not be so hard on myself, right? Like, am I willing to do that so that I can actually allow this healing to land in my life?
Yes.
Right. And yeah, there's like oftentimes there's a lot of spiritual blockage because of trauma or because we've gone through a lot of hard things. We're not quite all here. You know, it's like helping somebody connect back to their body again. Right. Is like,
you know, I've done a lot of that work.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, because one of the things that we do in trauma is we separate from our body, our attention separates. We pull ourselves out because it's too intense to be with the body. Oftentimes the body is what represents that trauma. And so in many ways, you know, sometimes our spiritual awakening very much is about the body coming back online and saying, what's happening? Like, what is going on in here? Like this, there's a lot going on in here. And yeah, to your point, like, yeah, it's important for us to know how to navigate our energy field, to be able to guard our energy so that we are not just pulling in and adopting and kind of enmeshing into society. That very much is about standing in our power and bringing back our personal power and saying, you know what? I'm worthy of having this life different. And so I get to guard my energy. I get to decide who and what I'm around, who I spend my time with, what I spend my time with. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of a call to bring consciousness back to your own choices and your own way of engaging in the world, especially if you are empathic or intuitive. Many times we have a lot of wounding around those gifts. And so in some ways, those gifts were tapped. Sometimes those gifts were tapped by others, or they were used by others, or we gave them up to others to be used. And so in some ways, it very much is about coming back to like, what do I choose and what do I desire? And am I willing to guard now my choices and my activity so that I can be in my highest purpose, so that I can actually step into my life differently. And so obviously there's a lot of variety in that when it comes to finding that or stepping into that. And I would say that this is something that I am seeking to do, is to create an environment of healing in my own clientele and in my own students, but to also create a container where we can actually foster connection with one another. I'm actually going to be starting a monthly sharing circle type thing where the whole point of it is fostering connection. Because what I have found is that we intrinsically desire connection as an infinite being, and yet we experience disconnection everywhere we go. And we oftentimes do not know how to connect with another because our own survival strategies come in and push us out of that connection because it feels vulnerable and it feels intense. And so there is so much disconnection in the world when it comes to humans. And I very much want to hold the space of learning to foster connection with one another. And so I'm going to be starting that, and it will be a low cost thing that people can come and they don't have to have any prior anything to join. They will, everything will be held in, in confidence and held in a sacred circle type of an atmosphere. But it's really about helping you learn, like, fostering connection with myself. What does that look like? Fostering connection with somebody else. What does that look like? How can I actually step into creating connection with this person? That, we all have our ways of survival that actually, if we're in our survival self, we're disconnecting from people.
Yes. That's so true. And I think I learned a lot of that as I was going through my shamanic practitioner training.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. When we are in our survival and we're not feeling safe in our body. I mean, one of the things that you've really worked with me on is that safety. I'm safe in my body. There's no other place I need to escape to. Like this is my vessel. It's safe to be in that. And so I think, yes, the world needs it. We are interconnected. We are one universal being. We're craving that in a healed, constructive, uplifting way that I think really just honors the essence of who we are as a human race.
Yeah. Well, and what we can be for one another. I mean, really, we're not getting out of this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know what I mean?
Like, even though we like to hit a eject a few times,
we're not. We're not. We can't get out of this thing. And so we are here in this world with people.
Yep.
And we need to learn, like we get to step into learning, like, how do I actually be with this person? How can I be with this person in her pain? How can I actually hear and witness her pain without having to pull myself into my own pain?
Yes.
Like, what can that be like, to hear and sense and be empathic and hear somebody's story and pain without it distracting or taking me out or taking me away from myself, right? Like oftentimes we think I can't be empathic for someone because then that means that I'm getting sucked out. When truth be told, when I'm holding myself up, I can be with you in your pain. Mm-hmm. I can be with you and hear you. I can witness you, right? We need witnessing.
Yes, we
on
do.
This planet. We need to be witnessed by one another from a loving container. And so, like, why aren't we doing that? Because we have so much wounding. And if we lead with our wounding, then we will get wounded again. When we lead with our wounding, it's only until we can hold ourselves up and say, listen, I'm willing to hold myself in my healthy self here. I'm willing to hold my gifts and everything that I am here. I can be with you in your moment of pain. You don't have to leave to go be alone in your pain, right? How many of us do that? So many of us do that. And so it is a condition that I feel like is to that point of danger zone where kids these days have absolutely no idea how to actually put their phone down and actually look at somebody in the eye and be with somebody in that intimate space. Well, it's literally a pandemic of sorts, of disconnection, and it's only getting worse. And so I'm like, who's going to teach them? Well, like we are going to teach them. I'm going to teach them. I'm going to teach us. Like I want to step in and a connection is so important. And I think that in a lot of ways, that's what brought me to shamanism was that interconnectedness, knowing that when I walk outside, I'm affecting something in the environment and the environment is affecting me. Mm-hmm. Right. And that can be a gift. We can affect each other in a gifted way, in a way that says, I'm here with you in this pain. You don't have to separate from me and go be alone in it. Like I'm willing to be with you in it.
I love that.
Like that's powerful.
It's huge. So, and what I love is each one of us is shamanic practitioners. And for the listeners out there that want to connect with a shaman, every one of them dabbles in a different modalities in what we're called to do.
Yes.
So I think of like, what have I been called to do? And what am I really stepping into doing is how do we bring these practices, because they're universal, they're really all that's at play, even though we think there's other things going on, into business. And how do these shamanic traditions, the wisdom of the shamans, the interconnectedness, being in the rhythm with nature, how do we start to bring those beautiful tools and work with the energetics of businesses, because they have souls, they've got an energetic blueprint. And how do we start to bring that where that starts to harmonize with the rest of the world, where it doesn't feel like we have all these separate things going on, but there's a oneness and interconnectedness. And so I never dreamt that's what I was supposed to do, and
Yeah.
go through that. But that's what, through my journeying and what, what has the source divine spirit wanted me to do. It's how do we bring these into business? And I think it is going to create more ease. When we're in this space of being connected with the universe, we're much more creative. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's not, especially in business, like I think that the thing that I really love and appreciate about your vision, Erin, when it comes to business is business is a creative outlet. It's a creation.
mm-hmm.
Business is a creation. And yet there is a way that traditional business has been about competing and getting to the top. And so what you're actually posing and offering is that the business itself, tapping into the soul of the business itself, getting to the act. What does the creation want here? What is this particular business's, creation? What it is the creation.
Yes.
Right? It is a set of energetics that have been created for something. And that is the soul and the soul's expression of that business. And so that's the thing that I actually really love about what you're doing, Erin, is you're getting it back to like what's fundamentally true here about the creation, this business being the creation, and bringing it back to the creative flow of what its original soul wanted. Right. And so I love that you're doing that. And that's a whole other level of shamanic healing, right? I mean, you think about the soul of a business losing personal power. Like that's basically, well, if it's losing money, then it's losing, power, right?
Yep.
If it's lost its essence, why has it? Who
Yep.
is holding the essence of this business? Who's holding it now? Is it up on the wall somewhere? Is the mission statement up on the wall where that's actually a representation of the essence of the business, right? Like there's things and steps and ways that you address the illness of the business. Like,
Yep.
of course, like why wouldn't you bring your shaman? I think it's brilliant. I think I love it. I mean, for me, like, of course, like you said, like there will be some that kind of hold the stories and are the storytellers of the ancient wisdom and the way the earth works and the earth knowledge holders. There's those that are for me, I'm very much about healing. I'm a hands-on healer. And so I am here to help in the healing arts and transforming and teaching, very much about the teaching and the healing arts and opening you up to your gifts and what you are here to be at soul level. And so in a way, everything that I do has that flavor, right?
Yes.
That. And so like, if that's what you're looking for, like I can help you with that. And I can guide you through shamanic practice or journeying to your own soul. Like, what is your soul asking to express itself through?
Yes.
And how, shamanism, especially just journeying, is very much about, that's just guiding you. That's giving you a window into your guides are showing you like how you express yourself is up to you. It's up to your own soul's expression. Everybody has a different way. And all of that working together is this beautiful opportunity for us to be able to receive from one another in such a profound way that I truly believe that we need practitioners that are willing to step up and step in. And the world needs that. We need the weirdos. We need the ones that are the intuitive, that are tapping the pulse of some of these things that are in need of shifting.
Yes.
And, so like my thing is what you got, you know what I'm saying? Like what you got in there, what does your soul know that you came here to do that you haven't been able to step into yet? Find somebody to help you with that. If your business is sucking wind and it has no more soul, call Erin.
You need all the things. I can't even describe
Yeah.
all the magic that Lori does, but I will make sure every person gets connected with Lori. We have her links to her website, sessions where you can book with her. She works internationally across all time, space.
Ew.
I've done work in person, not in person, and the effects are all still the same because we're working with the energies of it.
Yes.
And it's equally as powerful. So
Yes.
I know she has a lot of stuff exciting upcoming. So I will make sure that my audience, everybody knows about your community that you're starting, as well as I think you were hinting to me like a kind of brief little thing coming up in 2025.
Yes, yes. I'll be doing kind of a mini journey into shamanism in 2025, which is like a 6-week journey to kind of dabble your toe in, to learn more about your own, like what's coming through, to kind of guide you. We'll do a little bit of ritual. We'll do a little bit of learning, and it's not a full 6-month journey, which I did this year. Into practitioner course. It's a little bit less than that. It's 6 weeks. It's not 6 months.
So it'll give you a good lens, because 6
yes,
months it was like jumping into the deep end of the pool.
It very much was.
It brings you up against, it really brings you up against the stuff that you need to heal and to make yourself whole.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the 6-month journey, which I will do again in 2026. If that's what you're looking for to be guided into practitioner, that will come in 2026. But if you want to just dip your toe in and see what it's like, and to kind of explore your own, guide team, and kind of explore the messages that your soul is asking for you to see, the 6-week journey might be something for you. And I'll definitely get links to that when it's ready to go.
Yes, hopefully this is the first of many conversations we get to have with Lori on Dear Source. She has been an incredible teacher, an incredible guide to me, and I would vouch for Lori tenfold all the time, every day.
Thank you,
If
Erin.
you're interested in stepping in and understanding how shamanism can really, I think, just elevate you and reconnect you with yourself and your soul. Lori, I highly, highly, highly recommend her. So it was such a privilege and such an honor to have you on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite things to talk about ever. So thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it so much.
Always.
All right.